What I want to do next is get the dizzy stabbed appropriately, and so to do that, based on what I've read and saw, we want to make easy access to the valve train, make sure we're not off 180 degrees and we're on the exhaust stroke and not the compression. And then what we're looking for here is our little ball down in this little window. So now that the motor turns over, I can actually go ahead and just use the starter to try and kick it over, and hopefully that'll work. I'm not sure. Seems like it'll be kind of difficult, but yeah. And then we can also grab a zip tie here. Somewhere, zip ties. There we go. So here's a zip tie. So we'll also just kind of use that as like our little feeler gauge. Put that in there. So it's actually telling me, feels like it's at the top already, but I need to double check how this works and figure out which one of these is supposed to be loose or tight. Because yeah, that's what I need to do first. But my goodness, look at how fresh that all is. Wow. That's pretty awesome. Man. That's a 0-hour 2F engine right there. Scrumptious. Alright, just a little bit more footage here before we put this on. Alright, I've got my little foam mount set up, and we're going to do how to stab an FJ40 Dizzy 2F distributor installation by Redline, Land Cruisers. Lots of other great resources. I've also read this a ton on I Hate Mud. Great write-ups on there. So I've got this set. Punch in there on the line. Okay, based on what's going on. And then the next thing we want to check is we'll check that all of these, 1, 2, and 3 should be loose. We got taps there, so that's good. And then let me show you how I ended up rotating this. So if we go under the truck, I don't know if yours will be like this or not, but hopefully you can kind of see. Okay, so we're looking at, we're zoomed out. We're looking at the flywheel right here. Okay, there's that. Your starter gauges here. I pulled all the plugs, but then I just took a screwdriver and stuck it in these holes and then just pulled towards me. And I was able to rotate the engine around without any issues. So yeah, also please don't judge me for my hand paint job here. And actually I think it looks okay, except for the fact that I missed all underneath where the screws go to hold on the oil pan cover. But that's another story. So, cool. Well, let's jump back out. Okay, the next rule they're saying is piston needs to be at the top. And maybe this is the advantage of having a dome piston, but you can actually see that the top of the piston's right there. And then if I use this doesn't go any lower. Sorry, it's so dark, but this doesn't go any lower. So that, I think we've accomplished rule 1 and 2. Okay, so the next thing they said is 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Yep, should all be at the bottom of the cam, which means the push rod should be loose. So 9 is loose. 7, here's 8, this is 7, that's loose. 6 and then 5 right here, that's loose. 1, 2, and 3, so let's go 3, 2, and 1. So those are all set. So we are on the compression stroke. We know we're not 180 off and on the exhaust. Okay, they're also saying that the 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, and 9 should all be basically the same height. So if we look at those, especially 1, 2, and 3, we should be able to see that they're all at the same height. So I think that checks. All right, well, let's continue. Okay, they said if all else fails, I mean, basically we're looking at 1, 2, and 3. They should all be the same height. They should all be loose. We know that for sure. And then the other factoid here is number 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is number 6. 6 should be doing something, and 6 is closing or opening a valve. So this valve on the other side here is compressed. So that's a good sign. All right, so the next thing I need to do is, might be able to see, turn that down a little. Might be able to see that is not quite set. Yeah, it's facing towards the rear of the car. So I just need to turn that and get it at 12 o'clock. So let's find a screwdriver or something to do that with. Okay, found a screwdriver that fit. Actually doesn't need to be that long, and now that is 6 o'clock, straight up and down with the engine here. Next steps, let's go! Okay, so I've got this clocked 12 o'clock, lined up and matched. Now in theory, when I drop this in, based on the shape of the teeth here, when I drop this in, we should see this rotor move towards my thumb. So it should move towards our left, and then it should line up with the little lump on cylinder 4. So I'm gonna try and do this one-handed and see if I can get this to drop in appropriately. So let's see if we can follow this. Oops, got my things out of the way here. Okay, all right, messed that up one-handed. So let's line that back up. Okay. All right, there we go. To go straight down. Ah, there we go. Cool. Yep, so now this is pointed back towards the hump on 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the hump on 4. There's that. So this should be pretty good. We can go ahead and tighten up a few things, and then we should be a lot closer on timing at this point. So, okay, next up is cap install. So based on the video, there's 2 sides here. Pause that. There's 2 nubs here where it attaches to, and the side with the groove is going to match up to this side here. You can see there's a little tab here that we don't have on this side, so that's where we want to put our tab. We want to put this side. So I can go ahead and put that on. Put that on. Okay. So I don't know if I should keep boiling that or not. Or I should just snug it. All right, so I'm having an issue with the Dizzy sitting all the way in. It's basically stopping just below the O-ring and not going any further. So what I've done is I've actually gone in and twisted the oil pump counterclockwise to the left about 10 degrees off of 12 o'clock. And I'm going to see if that allows it, because when this drops in, this is shifting to the left because of the way the gears mesh. And so I believe that's turning this screwdriver end, and hopefully we can get those 2 to line up now. Okay, so I finally got it seated, but this is pointing a little too far back for my liking. So we really want this lined up with the lump, not necessarily the rear past the spark plug there. So I'm gonna try and stab this again and see where we get. All right, well, I think I got it. After a couple tries. Took me a little while with the screwdriver to just constantly finagle the little slot where I needed to be. So yeah, I think that's all right. And then of course in the meantime, I ripped off one of the wires I needed to put back on. So I'll work on that. But yeah, I think the next step here is to finish getting the coil hooked up to this and then run this other wire here over to the, I think there's a, yep, right here is actually where I had it connected, right there. We have a vacuum advance line, which is somewhere. I can get that put on. And then, yeah, then we gotta put the valve cover back on. And then I gotta pop over and get all these nuts tightened up. So I might actually work on that because one of the studs is loose, so maybe we'll jump on that.